Hello and welcome back to Copic in the Craft Room. Michelle Houghton here, and I am going to color up this really cute stamp from Stamping Bella. Stuffies. It's really cute. It does come with a sentiment as well from both of us. I'm just going to do the little bear and mouse, some winter coloring. I might do a few of these and color them up for thank you cards. I'm trying out a new paper that a friend recommended to me. This is a Nina, and it's Exact Index, and she really prefers this paper, and so I've been coloring on that the past couple times, and actually I'm liking it quite a bit. It is not as smooth a surface, so it's not quite as tight or as hard as the Copic Express, but it's also not as soft as the Nina that I have worked on before. And so I'm liking it. It has very good blendability, and it doesn't seem to be bleeding as much as the Nina cardstock that I have worked on before. So you can kind of keep an eye on that and see what you think. I am going to use some kind of reddish earth tones on the scarf, so we'll see how much that moves around as we color. Anyway, I've got my markers picked out, and we will zoom in and get coloring. So I'm going to start with a BV20, and I'm doing these short little flicks where I'm feeling like the shadow or shading would be coming in. So bottom edge of the paws, underneath the paw pads, and I'm doing it in this little tiny flicking stroke. I'm also coming up underneath the scarf, around the bottom edge of his face, and up underneath his nose. And I debated about the inner ear, but I'm going to do something different with that, and then coming down that kind of center little fuzz that he's got down the top of his head. And then I'm coming back with my colorless blender, or the 0, and softening those edges everywhere that I put the BV20. You might notice with this particular marker that you get a little bit of a blue effect. That's normal with that marker. I'm going to use E01 in the ears and on the top portion of those little paw pads, just to keep it really soft. Notice I didn't even fill it in. And then I'm coming back in the other direction with an E93, real rosy color. Kind of warming that up even further. Real pink, obviously not realistic, just for fun. BV20 on a couple little places around his ears, adding a little bit more shading. And I'm crisping up the shadow underneath the scarf. I felt like that needed to be more distinct, so I went back and added that as well. So for our little mouse friend, I'm going to start with an N1 and base all the little areas where I think I'm seeing his gray. Then I'm coming in with an N3 to add some shading. N is those neutral grays. If you're not familiar with all the different gray families, that's just a neutral gray, and that's what the N stands for. E93 is going on his little paws and his nose and inside his ears. E01 to soften those edges, and then a little bit of colorless blender to fade it all the way to white. Do that on the bear's ears as well, just to soften those and kind of fade those to white. YR24 is what I'm basing the scarf in, and I'm trying a new color combination. I have no idea how this is going to turn out. So YR24 is the base color, and I'm not going to the edges because the colors I'm going to use that go along with it are some pretty powerful earth tones that have a lot of red in them. So I'm being cautious a little bit with my edges, also for the fact that I'm using a different paper that I haven't used before. E07 is coming in next, and you're going to notice this is a real reddish brown. It has a lot of power to it. So now I'm coming from the bottom edge up, just very top edge to get how that curves back in. Kind of show that off a little bit. And because I haven't colored this image before, you can see me kind of pausing and thinking as I go. I haven't mapped out any of the shading yet. And so as I go through the image, I'm thinking about, is this going to be darker? Is this going to be lighter? Does it pop forward? Does it sit back? What's the shape of the object, and how do I define that, make the viewer see that form? So it just takes me longer when I haven't colored an image before. Coming back with that YR24, and now I'm going to really smush that around because I know this is a stretch between those two colors, so I'm trying to see if I can blend them together. And they are blending together. The areas that are wet or a little bit wetter are blending more easily, but even those areas that are dry are softening together. I'm not sure if I love this color combination, but it's a new one, so I'm sticking with it. I'll finish it up. E09 is going to be that last layer, and now I'm really looking for the areas that I want to push back at this point. So what's going under the other layers? Where are things going under pieces versus pushing outward? So I've got a shadow underneath that one tail of the scarf. That bottom corner can really get pushed back because I know it's underneath. A few little fuzzies here and there to accentuate some of those little details. Little creases and underneath some of those corners. And really, because it was so wet as I did that, most of this does not need to be blended back in. The bear's nose I do want to turn black, so I'm going to start with an N5, and then I go find an N7. I'm going to go down the bottom edge and the top edge, and notice I left that white spot. That's a reflective spot, so I'm going to soften up that little tiny bit to the left so it looks like a little bit of a reflective dot. For my little mouse, his little scarf is going to start with a B60, and the fur on his hat. I realize that's really light. It almost looks like the same color as the mouse, so I'm darkening that up with a B63. And I'm going to go ahead and fill the hat in with that color as well. And then I decide it still needs to go darker. It's not quite enough. So B66 is coming from the back room, running across the dining room, and adding some B66 in there. I love this color, these B6s. It's a really pretty group of blues. Dots with this color on the fuzzy scarf and trim, tiny bit on the hat to finish off that shading. Then I'm going to soften real gently. Dots again with the B63 and then softening with some short flicks on the hat. And I'm coming back with my colorless blender because I realized the little bear's face got a little too dark. So I'm going to try to push that part a little bit further back, soften that up even more. Again, we see a little bit of that bluing effect, but it's kind of a neat effect of that BV20. I think I better stop messing with him. I've kept it pretty simple today. I spent a lot more time on the scarf and just getting some of that fuzzy detail in there. I did real simple shading around the bear, lightened that back up a little bit more. But hopefully you got a sense. Most of the days I'm just coloring for fun, and so a lot of it is experimentation and experimenting with color combinations. This was one I hadn't tried before. I'm not totally sure if the overall design works for me for the colors chosen, but maybe I could tie it all together when I put it with pattern paper and a sentiment and just the embellishments that go on a card or whatever craft I'm putting together with this little image. But I do like the shading. I like how that aspect of it turned out, and I think it's ready to kind of move on to a craft. Thank you so much for joining me this week at Copic in the Craft Room. I have all 4 of my upcoming Copic College events open now for registration. So if you have not had a chance, you can stop by my website, and that is www.scrapweaver.com. and find out all about Copic College weekends, and hopefully there's one that's going to be nearby you. You are certainly welcome to subscribe to my blog there so that you can find out about any other events. I think that's probably it for 2018, but you never know. But upcoming events in years to come. And if you haven't had a chance, go ahead and like this channel, and that way you're going to have a fun video in your inbox every week. Thank you for joining me this week. Have a happy, colorful day.